One of my favorite companies that I've interviewed several times over my 11-year career is Atlassian, and they're a fine Australian group. Yay! But their tools and their systems help people even at Rackspace work together to build things, and we're going to hear what they're doing. Who are you?
So I'm Jay Simons. I'm the president of Atlassian, and let's see, I've been with Atlassian for 4 years now. And my introduction to the company is kind of interesting. We make collaboration software for product development teams, and I was working for a different software company, actually building collaboration software. They shall remain nameless. And we kind of pulled together a bunch of our best engineers to try to invent something new. And the first thing they did was download an Atlassian product. And I thought, hang on a second, we're building collaboration software using the collaboration software from some other company. And that was my introduction to the company.
Very cool. You guys have been on a rocket ride since last. I mean, I've interviewed you at Atlassian several times over the last 10 years because you're one of the companies that's been around most of my career, and you're on fire. And I think you just got funded by Excel Ventures, and I see you all over the place. And how many employees do you have now?
So we have 450 employees worldwide.
Yeah, so you're not a little startup that's building an iPhone
app. You still feel like one. I don't know, once a startup, always a startup. But yeah, we're a bigger company now. We just did 100 million in bookings in the last calendar year, ending in December 2011. Just hit our biggest month ever with 10 million in bookings. And to put that in perspective, I think when we last saw you, less than 2 years ago, probably we'd maybe just done 5. So in 2 years we doubled.
Very cool. Our show is called Small Teams, Big Impacts because I am trying to get around to the companies that are helping small teams do things in the world, build software or build companies. And what are you noticing happening right now? And what are the products that you guys are doing to enable that?
So again, our products are team-based products. Like the one kind of theme that runs through all of our software is team-based collaboration. So we help people that are working on a team work better together, communicate and collaborate better, specifically around developing products. And you might remember that in, I think it was like April 2009, you helped us launch this thing called starter licenses, which at the time, we offered, our products were they started at like $1,000 for, a license of 25 people or something. And that was around the global financial crisis, and we wanted to do something to sort of help small teams. And so we decided to sell 5 user licenses of our products for $5 for only 5 days, and we wanted to donate raise 25 grand for this charity room to read. And you helped us kick that off. And in 5 days, we raised 100 grand. Subsequent to that, we offer all of our products to 10 user teams for $10. And then we donate that $10 to Room to Read, to a philanthropic cause. And I think since we launched the program in 2010, we've generated like 1.8 million for Room to Read and probably sold hundreds of thousands of licenses to small teams. And so for us, whether you're a couple people in a garage, or one guy in a coffee shop here, one guy on the East Coast, or whether you're a small team inside of a big company like Boeing or whatever, we want to make our products affordable and available to you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
well, congrats on doing that kind of charity work. What are you seeing happen in development teams? Because over the last 10 years, I've seen these small companies that have development teams in Brazil and Prague and Moscow. I mean, that's crazy how you can hire people and talk now. We have Google Plus Hangouts now with video hangout. That's changing how people work together, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a couple things that I think you see. Distributed is one. I mean, that's only increasing, right? Like you see it even in Silicon Valley. You'll see some great company, and they've got 2 co-founders, one that's probably here, one that's somewhere else. Yeah. And even if the co-founders are both here, probably one might be down on the peninsula and one's in San Francisco, and they're doing whatever they need to do using the internet and kind of working remotely to stay connected. So that's one trend. Another trend is that software development, especially is way more inclusive. Like I think it used to be, especially in kind of enterprise software development, that developers sort of reported to the CFO, and they kind of worked in the basement, and they worked on optimizing something for the business. Software wasn't strategic. And today in almost every industry, companies are trying to differentiate through software. You were just at CES, and the theme of CES was smart, right? Smart in anything is software.
Yeah, well, the hot thing there was the smart window.
Exactly.
So you come up to a window and it has a display in it.
Exactly. And I probably like you. I choose my airline now largely because of the software that's on the plane to run the in-flight entertainment system, the software that I use to book, right? When you get and sit in the seat, the comfort of the seat and what food they have on the cart that goes down the aisle, it's kind of secondary to me. I care about Wi-Fi on board. I care about how easy it is to book online. I care about the software that's sort of in the back of the seat that lets me keep track of a sports game or watch a favorite television show. A lot of us choose our car for the same reason. I think there's more lines of code in a car than there is to make Facebook, and there's to make Twitter. And you don't think about it when you drive around, a Ford Taurus or Ford whatever, that you're driving around a piece of software on four wheels. It's effectively what you're doing. I just saw, I watched the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl last night was riddled with car commercials.
26 of them, I think.
Yeah, like every car. And the funny thing is a lot of them were they were advertising a software product, like the Honda CR-V especially. That whole thing is about reinventing the automobile on the inside. And there's things that you don't even appreciate software's doing. It's driving fuel economy. It's driving, safety. It's the engine really hasn't changed, but the software that makes the engine more effective has. The point of that is the original question, how it's changing. Like, software is very strategic. Mark Andreessen wrote that opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal about how software's eating the world. And I think in Silicon Valley, we get a little desensitized to how the planet's changing through code. But the other change there is that it's not just people that can write code, it's all the people that contribute to determining what code needs to be written and how you're going to bring a product or an idea to life in code.
How does Atlassian help these development teams work together and get better product out the door?
So any development team basically needs three things to work together. They need a place to share tasks and activities, and kind of a system to handle the workflow. I assign you to do something, and that might have a dependency on something else that someone needs to do. And when you're finished with your task, you can notify the other person that they can start. So you need that. And again, if you're small, you can kind of do that in Excel or Google Docs. But if you get into any team of any size or complexity where you've got 5 people in different time zones working on the same thing, you need to kind of connect them together better.
Yeah, Food Spotting had a whole wall with color-coded tasks.
Yeah, so easy if you're all in the same room, but a lot harder when you're virtual or remote. So sharing tasks and activity is a big one. Having a space where you can share text and ideas and images, and your designers are going to flesh out some concepts. They don't want to email them around. You need sort of a space where you can share those kinds of things, and people can comment, and all the discourse, the collaborative discourse needs to happen around refining what things need to look like, or what the features are, or what the specs are.
Do you hook up to like a tool like Balsamiq that lets you do wireframes or something like
So
that?
we do. That's a great partner of ours.
Okay.
So and then the third category is developers specifically need a place to share source and kind of contribute to source. So in the
do
first,
you hook up to Git then?
We do.
Oh, you do.
So the first category, Jira is our flagship product, and Jira is a project tracking system that handles issues, tasks, everything that goes into assigning discrete bits of work to a bunch of people and figuring out how all that gets coordinated into iterations and releases and whatever methodology your team works on. It does that. Our second largest product is a product called Confluence, and Confluence is a collaboration system for all the text and imagery and specifications and kind of everything that you want to pull together. And Balsamiq actually integrates with both of those, where you could say, hey, to this page I want to add a mockup. And you load, Balsamiq loads, you drag and drop your artifacts into a mockup and you save it to a page. What Confluence gives you is the ability to say, I like that, or change this, or just edit it and have it be versioned over time. You can also add a mockup to a Jira issue. Right? If the issue is, hey, Robert, I want you to start developing this feature or this website, here's what I want it to look like, I can attach that directly to an issue.
And do you allow that, then a graphic designer to take that Balsamiq wireframe and actually make it look like a real user interface?
They kind of do that in whatever tools they're comfortable with. So most of them are going to use Adobe Creative Suite, and they're going to make that high fidelity. What we would do is then, that designer is going to need a place to share those things, and so they go back to the same Confluence place where all of the people that are working on that product together are paying attention to kind of new things that are happening, and they're going to upload those images into a space, make a simple little gallery that people can click through, and then you've got kind of all the social capability of commenting and app mentioning, and the other thing I was going to add is you said what's changing. I think Twitter and Facebook and kind of the popular social consumer platforms have changed the way we expect to interact with people.
Yep.
And so in our products, you can app mention people. They all have activity streams. Are
you hooked into like Yammer or Salesforce Chatter or anything like that?
No. I mean, we can be.
So you'll probably have two separate, because some parts of the company will be on on one of those tools or something similar to it, and the development team will be on Confluence or.
Yeah, I mean, like look, both those products spit out RSS pretty simply, and so and they both have REST endpoints. So I'm sure it's a very simple way. Probably customers have done that. Have just said, I want a feed of Confluence activity kind of into Yammer, because that's sort of like one channel that I paid attention to a bunch of burps about activity.
Don't worry, I'll ask David. We're interviewing him next week, so I'll ask him about how they're integrating with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like our products tend to be, I think both Chatter and Yammer tend to be kind of higher order conversations, and you want to dive into, if you're really developing a product and working with a team, I don't know that you're going to look to Yammer for signals. You're going to really go into those products, and you're going to spend a lot of time there paying attention to what signals those products are telling you, because everything that's happening around product development is going to happen in those products.
Does it help somebody build a manual for the product along while the product is being built?
We refer to it as concept to launch cycle of building a product, where it starts with an idea, and someone's got to say, I wonder if I could create X, and X they're going to describe with text and images and stuff like that. And then they're going to plan it. They're going to say, okay, how do we get it? Who do we need to build it? We need a couple of engineers, and we need some testers and people like that. They're going to actually build it, and that's where a lot of code writing happens. And then they're going to launch it. And alongside the product stakeholders, the developers, the testers are going to be documentation people that are going to basically describe in Confluence, here's the features that we built, how they work, release notes. And so you can use Confluence to basically package that type of content to support customers.
Very cool. As it gets closer to shipping, does it start using testing, or does it start, when you start deploying this out to cloud farms, at Rackspace or Amazon, does it integrate with like New Relic or other systems that watch infrastructure? Because that's different than what you guys are doing.
So we have a continuous integration, continuous deployment product called Bamboo, which is part of the build and test. As you contribute code, you want to kind of run a build, run a series of tests, and understand whether there are things that you need to fix, or whether or not the build's okay. And then Bamboo is a feature where you can kind of continuously deploy using Bamboo. Bamboo's kind of similar to Jenkins, which is the open source version of, used to be Hudson, open source version of a CI server. And then we integrate with a lot of different testing tools, integrate with Jira, because Jira is where a lot of the artifacts of work live. And so there's a product called Zephyr, which does fairly popular testing platform, does a lot of integration with Jira. And then New Relic, we have a partnership with New Relic too, because New Relic, you might want to use New Relic to monitor Jira. You might want to use New Relic to sort of monitor applications that you built with Jira. The deployment platform for us is sort of secondary. I mean, software developers are going to plan what they want to build, and then they're going to take what they built and kind of deploy it to wherever they want to run it.
I keep hearing about this thing called FedEx. Tell me what that is.
So we do innovation inside Atlassian is pretty important, and we've done this thing for 6 years called FedEx Day. It was like written up in a Dan Pink book, and then he featured it in a TED Talk. And basically the idea was, Google's 20% time. A lot of engineering companies have kind of tried to mimic that. We found that that it's really hard to get somebody to take one day a week and dedicate it to something else. And the things they dedicate it to are really big and long and monstrous. And so we had a different idea. We said, well, instead of 20%, which we also do that too for different things, let's give once a quarter every engineer a single day to build whatever they want. The only requirement is you have to spec it in advance, you got to work on it for 24 hours, and then you have to share what you built with your peers. And so we do that every quarter, and it sparked dozens of new features. It's fixed things that people said that's impossible to fix, and people have said, no, I just spiked it in a day. A lot of work that needs to go into actually fixing it, but here I proved that it's possible. And then it's been so successful in our business that we're running right now this kind of global contest where we said, hey, if you're a company trying to figure out how to kind of spark innovation and creativity in your business, give FedEx Day a try, and we'll parachute a handful of our Fed experts, we call them, to run this FedEx Day for your business.
Why do you call it FedEx? Where did the name
Ship in a day.
Oh, ship in a day.
Right,
oh,
so
awesome.
FedEx ships in a day, and so we call it FedEx. So you have to ship in a day. That's the essence of the idea.
That's really brilliant because it doesn't let it get bogged down in a committee.
Yeah.
And that's what kills all innovation, right? Is committees.
And it's basically fueled by beer and pizza. The victor of FedEx, and we Roman numeral R's, which gives it this kind of weight of something really important. It's like FedEx 16 in Roman numerals. But like we declare a winner. Like there's always one winner at FedEx, and they get this kind of special Atlassian trophy, and that is worth more than almost anything, right? Because the person's basically said this quarter, like I rocked it, right? I did something that my peers judged as just incredibly innovative.
We're sponsoring the Startup Bus for the same reason. These guys drive across the country into South by Southwest, and on the bus they develop something, a company or a product, and it's really great. What else is going on? Atlassian's a pretty important company.
So we've got a big release of Jira. Jira 5 is shipping in February. So biggest release of Jira in a long time. Kind of thematic around that release is the idea of social collaboration and improving kind of @mention and sort of the activity stream and kind of the connectedness of users around work that they're doing, which we think is really important. We've also spent a whole ton of effort on the API, and so we're actually launching in February with dozens of integration partners companies that you would mention or reference.
Like, give me an example or two. What is this new API going to let us do with Jira?
It's all a REST-based API, so we've improved all the REST-based endpoints, and then basically, you can kind of interact with Jira through the REST API to create issues, to get issue properties, to kind of do a bunch of things. So, Zendesk and Assistly, I think, are two simple examples where they run customer-facing help desks, and it's totally logical for your help desk agent to say, well, I think this is something that development needs to take care of. And development's working on an issue in Jira, right? That's where kind of development says, I need to fix this bug. The bug's first going to come in through a help desk. You want to map those two things together so it kind of flows from the customer-facing system all the way down into the development and product-facing system. They fix it, and it goes right back up.
Well, that's brilliant. And we're going to be talking to a couple of those companies.
Yeah, so they're good friends of ours. And,
awesome.
They're supporting the Jira.
And that comes out this spring, or?
That comes out in February.
February, wow.
Just around the corner.
Very cool. Well, thanks for, where do we find more about Atlassian?
Atlassian.com.
Yeah. Is there a developer site or just Atlassian.com, and you can find everything you need?
You can find everything that you need at Atlassian.com.
You guys
more than you want to find.
You guys are on Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus also.
All the local hangouts.
Very cool. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Robert.
And thanks, and congrats on the continued success.
Yeah, thank you.